following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WZWA Network's review show here of AEW Rampage. I'm one of your hosts, Karlifornia Jooseyboy, as usual, alongside my co-host, Jooseyboy, Daniel Johnston. How are you, bro?
I am not bad, my friend, and ready to talk about this episode of Rampage. This very brief-seeming episode of Rampage. It all went by very quick.
Certainly did, bro. I'm starting to feel like Rampage is almost a glorified Sunday Night Heat. At least the Sunday Night Heat that first began when there were big matches on the show and all that. I still kind of feel like Rampage needs another 20 minutes. But anyway, we start the show off, and Andrade and Puck, whatever, they're already in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And before we even get to this, I want to talk to you about Andrade's current issues with the company. You mentioned something to me earlier about that. What was that all about?
Well, I've heard, and you have to take this with a grain of salt because you never know some of the sources that some of these places have got their information. But, recently, obviously, Brian Cage's wife expressed displeasure with how he was being used. But I had heard tell that Andrade was a little bit displeased kind of at the way that he's being used, because right after he came in, then you had Punk and Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole show up, and a lot of the attention in the company seems to be focused on them. So, it remains to be seen how accurate that is, but that is something that I heard.
Right, yeah, because this is something that I kind of wanted to just gloss over before we began. And in Brian Cage's case, I'm very disappointed to see those toxic AEW fans immediately turn on him, start talking shit about him on Twitter and in comment sections, saying that he's a poor man's Brock Lesnar. Oh, who cares? He's 37 years old. Another guy I saw tweet at Tony Khan saying, Tony, can you please release Brian from his contract? He's not happy and we don't want people like that around. And I'm like, fucking shut up, you little mark.
All right, you know what? I'm going to say something then. Okay, none of the fans that are saying any of that shit on Twitter, I'll address you directly. None of you will ever hope to look like Brian Cage. None of you will ever hope to be as fit as Brian Cage. None of you will ever hope to be anywhere near the level of athlete that Brian Cage is. Whether you're a fan of his or not, he is living a lifestyle and, having the type of career that none of these fans could ever dream of achieving. So before you go out there on Twitter and literally ask the man's boss to release him because he dared speak out against unhappiness, you might want to take a look in the fucking mirror at your own muffin top bellies and your fucking fedora hats and your neck beards. And let me tell you another thing. The whole idea of AEW was to give people a place where they could work without having to feel like they were walking on eggshells. If somebody can't come out and say, you know what, I wish I was being used a bit better. I kind of feel like I've been lost in the shuffle a bit. If someone can't say that without everyone calling for their release, there's a problem. Because if somebody went on Twitter and said the exact same thing about their WWE career, everyone would be like, oh, Vince McMahon and Triple H and Stephanie, they're all so fucking evil. They never do anything with people. People should be allowed to speak out. They shouldn't have to bow down to the evil Vince McMahon. But then somebody speaks out about unhappiness in AEW, everyone jumps down his throat, and they're all fucking fat neckbeard wrestling fans. And I'm not saying that that's what the whole fan base is, but let's face it, anyone that is petty enough to actually go on Twitter and call for this guy to be released, for him to lose his job, how dare they say things like he's already 37, who cares? Okay, none of them will be ever in that good a shape in their lives. Not at 21, not at 27, definitely not at 37. At 37, they're going to be walking around wearing dad shorts, fucking sitting on their couch wearing a football jersey, in their little fucking man cave, you know, on their recliner. That's where they'll be watching AEW from. Don't go on Twitter and try to sabotage a man's career because he dare ask for more.
Yeah, fuck me dead, bro. That's so true. It's just kind of like, fuck, he's right. He's right. And it's funny how I never heard any AEW fan say anything bad about Brian Cage beforehand, but he dare say anything about, the way he's been booked by their beloved Tony Khan, the genius Tony Khan, with his little figurine fed that he's got going on right now. How dare anybody say anything against him? Fuck that, dude. Okay, that is such bullshit for everyone to just suddenly flip on him. Oh, he's not even really that good of a wrestler. He really needs to, fucking shut up, cunt. It's not about that all the time. It's not about fucking having 25-minute flip-flop and flying matches. He's a different kind of wrestler. He's a big guy. He does a fucking good job at it. So, that, I'm glad that we brought that up on the show because, it offends me as somebody who's trying to get into the product, that I keep still being put at arm's length from really wanting to be a big AEW kind of fan because their fan base is so toxic like this and they're going to talk shit about people like this.
Apparently it's a huggable rainbow until somebody steps out of line. And then it becomes as toxic as, any WWE fan has ever been.
Yeah, look what happened to Max Caster for a few weeks there. Thankfully, he's back on this episode. But what happened there? Somebody got upset about it.
We'll talk about it in the main event, bro. I wanna devote a little extra time to that specifically.
All right, cool, bro.
In the main event.
Andrade has not wrestled on TV in 9 weeks and 3 days, bro. 9 weeks and 3 days.
Yep, and yeah, so here we are. This match was supposed to happen. Should I start, or would you like to?
No, I'll take it, bro. I'll take it.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. And I'd like to get through this whole thing here.
Yeah, no, I'll be quiet, man. I'll shut up.
From go to woe, because after we watched the show, as I was having a shower, I was thinking about how much this pissed me off. Okay. Great match, bro. Great match. Loved the dive early in the match from Park. Loved the springboard into the DDT on the apron, the double stomp, the split-legged Hurricane Rana. The split-legged moonsault, the Hurricane Rana reversal from Park off the top rope. That was fantastic. The moonsault to the outside was awesome because the way that they get to spots like that, they're finding interesting ways to get to them. He's not just knocking him down, going on the top and doing a moonsault. Andrade tried to get back at him and fucking Park got him knocked back down again, and then he hit the moonsault. They're working a match here. The rope break was great. This match was really building quite well. It had a big fight feel. I thought it should have been the main event as far as I'm concerned, but it's okay. They seem to put Malachi Black matches as the opener as well, which could be a main event. So I won't nitpick it that much, but I'm going to nitpick the fuck out of this finish and the fuck out of the decisions that they've made here. Okay. Andrade is in trouble. He's been locked in, what is it called? The brutalizer.
Yeah.
His assistant, who I looked at the results from Wrestling Inc. That person doesn't even have a name. It's just one of his assistants. Maybe he does have a name, but I couldn't find it anywhere. And when I say anywhere, I mean just one source that I looked for it at. That's as much time as it deserved. Out of nowhere, no pretense to this guy ever having a taser before, and he's shooting. He's in the air to get the referee's attention, right? The taser doesn't end up getting utilized whatsoever. This spot could have been just the guy jumping up on the ring apron. Didn't need the taser because he didn't even attempt to get into the ring, right? It didn't do anything to distract Park. All it did was distract the referee, right? So taser wasn't necessary. No pretense to it ever being utilized in his little group before. This is like again the beginner's guide to booking. oh, well, we need to do something. So let's give him like a little stun gun to distract the referee.
Yeah.
Okay. Chavo gets in the ring and clocks Puck with the iPad. Andrade gets the pin 1, 2, 3, right? Okay. Afterward, Andrade is asking Chavo if he hit him. Did you hit him with something? This makes Andrade look incredibly fucking stupid. How is he not aware that that's what happened? He was locked in the submission. All of a sudden, Puck is like knocked out and he gets a pin. What? How do we come to this conclusion? Like, how is he so confused? Like, did you hit him? Why is he asking? It's not like geez, what's that sleeping disorder people have?
Narcolepsy.
It's not like fucking Puck has narcolepsy and he fell asleep. Okay, he knew that there was an impact, someone hitting him with something. He knew it would have been Chavo. Why is he asking about it? Okay, so that's the second thing that doesn't make sense about any of this. As they walk up the ramp, Andrade fucking clocks Chavo, wipes him the fuck out, walks off with the assistant who was in cahoots with Chavo for the finish, because why would he be distracting the referee for if he wasn't a part of Chavo getting involved? So why is Andrade cool with this guy but mad at Chavo, even though he was in on the fucking spot with him? That's the third thing that doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay, 52 days Chavo's been with Andrade, and he gets fucking wiped out. Lucha Brothers wipe him out with the super kick, and then he's thrown in the ring and put into the brutalizer and held into it for quite some time. Is Chavo turning babyface? Because he did some heel shit. Maybe it's all shades of grey, bro. Is Andrade turning babyface? No, I don't think so, because what he did was heelish. But he healed on a heel that then got treated like a babyface in the ring because he's unfairly being beaten down by 3 men who aren't stopping the beatdown. So are the Death Triangle heels, or are they tweeners? Are they all tweeners in this scenario? This whole fucking thing makes no fucking sense to me. And I'm trying to think of conclusions here, DJ, as to why this is a thing, okay? Is it because Flair might be getting signed soon and Andrade wants Flair with him? Why does Chavo lose his spot here then? What are they going to do with Chavo now? You know, I can't think of anyone he can be with at this point. He's already been slightly established in 52 days of being Andrade's guy, and now he's out. I don't know, man. Like, I can't think of a fucking logical explanation as to why any of this happened. But that whole finish to the match, having, what was it, 3 or 4 things that made no fucking sense at all. This storyline from Go to Woe was fucking terrible. The premise of it made no sense. The pretense to anything that's happened made no sense. And the conclusion made no fucking sense. So, of course, I don't fucking blame Andrade for being mad at the creative that's been given to him so far in AEW, because this was hot fucking garbage that ruined a fucking great match. Take it away, bro.
Yeah, so look, I guess their logic behind having Andrade turn on Chavo was supposed to be related to the fact that it was implied that Chavo lied about interfering with Puck's travel for the match. But then even if that is supposed to be the case, that doesn't make any sense. Why would Chavo deny his own charge the payday of having this big match with Puck on pay-per-view, or one of the biggest shows ever? So, yeah, you're right. None of this makes any kind of logical sense. It doesn't even seem to be following its own internal logic. And yeah, as you said, man, I don't need to really recap much of it. Hell of a fucking match, physical match. I liked the way that this was built. And yeah, it was really disappointing to see that this was ruined by a bunch of unnecessary shenanigans at the end. Andrade never should have turned on Chavo. If he was going to turn on anyone, he should have whacked the guy with the taser because we don't really need him as part of the group. He's expendable, you know. And B, if you're going to bring a taser out there, somebody's either got to use it or they have to feel threatened by it and back down. It shouldn't just be something there that he's waving around, you know. If he wants to have something that he's waving around, then why not have him have a pipe or something, for God's sake? Some other weapon, but not the taser was just ridiculous. So, you know, the match itself was really high quality. So overall, this entire thing is going to get a B-, but the stuff after the match and the finish of the match was terrible.
What a waste of fucking time. 7 weeks of build up.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that this thing between the two of them probably could have had at least 2 or 3 battles. You know, they could have done something with this. You know, I'm not big on 50-50 booking, but you know, Park can get a win back, and then we can go to the rubber match. But I just this whole thing just reeks of somebody booking that doesn't really know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling that Pac and Andrade didn't really have a say in what they were doing in this story, because I have a feeling that if they're grown men, bro, that they're going to look at this and be like, this doesn't really make sense. You got Chavo there who'll probably be like, this doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. You know, when we had Bam Neely on the show, he would talk to me about how him and Chavo would talk about what they were doing didn't make sense. So I know Chavo is the kind of guy that will poke holes in things. So if this is the end of the team, then shame on AEW. I think that's the wrong thing to do.
What a waste.
But if Chavo ends up being back with him next week, then there was no point doing this in the first place, because this isn't leading anywhere. There's no money behind any of this. It's a fucking joke. If Chavo doesn't even try and get some sort of comeuppance, that also is bullshit and hurts him in his role that I think he was doing very well in. I mean, we were talking about how happy we were that he was in this role, and that why didn't they do this years ago? Chavo could be utilized. He could be used. He could be helpful to any package he's put a part of. So
this has really been an absolute misfire from the beginning. Horrible mismanagement of Andrade and Chavo here, and the overall feud as well. I mean, this went from being what was probably going to be a pretty good match on this huge show to them not even getting entrances, and they're already in the ring when the show goes on the air. So that tells you how important this whole feud and this whole angle was in the eyes of the company.
That's it, bro. Let's move forward. Darby and Sting, Tully. I'll let you take this one, bro.
Yeah, I had no problem with this. Darby came out and addressed Tully's comments from the previous episode of Dynamite, where Tully challenged Sting to an eventual match, it sounded like, and made some other comments about Sting riding Darby's coattails. Darby kind of addressed them. Sting grabbed the mic, called Tully out. Tully came out, cut a little bit of a promo for himself, and as he's cutting that promo, Sean Spears, who was also called out by Darby Allin, runs out of the crowd behind the two of them while they're distracted listening to Tully, nails a brutal-looking Death Valley driver on the floor, runs away before Sting can catch up to him, and it looks like they're doing kind of a mini feud here, which I think is centered more around Tully and Sting than it is around Darby and Sean Spears. This was quite well done. It was very quick, but I was happy with this, so I'm going to give this another B+. I thought this was perfectly fine.
Yeah, it was all right, bro. Excuse me. I like the verbiage. As soon as Sting took the mic, things went to another level. Darby was all well and good, but when Sting grabs that mic, you're listening. Mm-hmm. Everything he's going to say is important. Tully came out. I'm loving now 2 weeks in a row to see him get some time on screen, getting on the microphone. And I think he should definitely be doing this more in the role that he's in, because for the last 7 weeks, we've barely seen him in Sean Spears, except for the Sammy Guevara bullshit. And yeah, the Death Valley drive on the outside, all good. You know, good to see a bit of heat taking place here. But as I said to you, I kind of felt like the segment just kind of I don't know, ended kind of abruptly. I was expecting more of a full stop at the end of the sentence, like Tully, whatever. Think of some verbiage for him to lay something out at Sting and then have his theme song hit and have him walk away. It just kind of felt like they just cut away really quickly. But that's just me nitpicking. Next up, I'll let you take this away as well. Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson talking about, their new roles in AEW.
I thought this was okay. They basically said a few words about why they were there. It was nothing special. I'd give this a C-. Decent way to kind of follow up on their recent debuts without having them get in the ring doing the CM Punk thing that he was doing for those first couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's cool, bro. I don't really have anything to add. Good stuff. Okay, I will let you take this one away as well because I went on such a long rant earlier. It's the women's 6-person tag team match here. Britt Baker, Rebel, Jamie Hayter versus Ruby Soho, Riho, and Statlander. Take it away, bro.
Yeah, so this match was pretty decent. As you said, I sort of felt like the heel team could have used a win. You didn't have to pin Ruby Soho herself to actually have, her team lose. But as it was, Ruby Soho got the pin on Rebel. This was fine. C-. Nothing wrong with it. Excited to see where, especially Statlander and Britt Baker go from here. I'm actually kind of invested in them too after their match at the pay-per-view.
Yeah. So as I alluded to in our Dynamite review, Riho making that save at the show made no sense. There was no pretense to it. Would have made more sense for Red Velvet, but again, they must be trying to come up with something else for her because that little run she had with Britt didn't do her any favors. There was a very stupid spot with Riho on the back of Statlander kicking her feet out and Rebel
dumb.
having to walk up to her to take the fucking kicks. Like, it was just like, that's fucking bush league shit right there. That spot didn't happen. It didn't need to happen. And it's, again, the agenting in AEW. Somebody needs to go, you know what? Maybe let's leave the dumb, hokey shit out of it. This is unnecessary. Okay. Since Jamie Hayter has joined the team of Rebel and Britt, they have done nothing to establish them as a cohesive unit. They can't even win a handicap match against Kris Statlander. And the three of them are together here. They need to be seen as a unit that can fucking get the job done. And they lose this match. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They should have won this match.
That brings something else to my mind, actually. Like, what you're saying there hits on it perfectly. Like, it's all well and good for them to be sassy, feisty bitches, that have a lot of personality and a lot of humor to them and a lot of kind of, they're just kind of oozing sexuality and presence. And a lot of that comes through with their sense of humor as well and what they say in their promos. That's great. I'm all for all that. I love the way that that's being handled. But then you need to also have these women in another segment put some bitch through a window, Really, they need to really do things that genuinely make people think, oh my God, these ladies are assholes. Like, they're dangerous. And they're assholes dangerous. As well. They don't care about anyone else's safety. It's about themselves. If you have Britt Baker or you just have Rebel and Jamie Hayter doing muscle work for Britt Baker, you have them, putting someone through a table or attacking someone with chairs. That is a way to kind of actually establish them as, being more of a threat. As it is, they're kind of, that's being diminished by the fact that they've been on the losing end of so much of this.
Yeah, and, there was another point in the match that I felt like things were going slightly off the rails. Jamie Hayter came in to really make sure to keep shit solid for at least a period of time there. Again, the referee with no fucking power whatsoever over what's going on. You can't have fucking Aubrey Edwards be so strict and fucking, with so much influence in a match, but then have another referee just have no fucking control over anything at all. Ruby gets the win, but again, want to double down on it. This trio need to establish themselves as cohesive, that they are capable of getting the job done. It's like when I mentioned the Dynamite review, Jamie Hayter can't seem to she couldn't even beat Ruby last week, which is fine, okay? Or this week, sorry. You got to get Ruby that win, but they could have beaten Riho here. They could have had at least Jamie or Britt get a pin on Riho, have an attempted attack after the match, and then if you want Ruby to be up at the end of the segment, you have her send Britt and Jamie packing with some sort of spot that sends them packing up the entrance way. They don't need to get the win in order to be up at the end of the segment. You can book post-match shenanigans to do so. Anyway, so 0 for 2 so far as I'm concerned, as far as booking's concerned here. Main event up next. We have a little promo beforehand though. Max Caster on one side, Pillman on the other. Mark Henry is obviously doing his thing every week. He's probably going to be doing this, which I like. They're keeping up with it. I felt like, Max and Anthony, their verbiage was good. I thought Anthony Bowens, I just wrote Anthony Bowens is dope. He comes across as believable. But Pillman's promo, so babyface 101. Verbiage was nothing there. Which is why I think sometimes the writing needs somebody who's good at writing verbiage for people who might not be able to come up with really interesting stuff to sink the viewer's teeth into. I just thought this came across as very just potato soup. Any thoughts, bro?
Yeah, it's all well and good to give the wrestlers the creative freedom to cut their own promos and stuff. But yeah, you do need somebody there that can kind of assist the wrestlers that aren't that great about it, like a Brian Cage or a Brian Pillman Jr. At this stage in his career. Whereas Max Caster and Anthony Bowens do not need that same kind of help. They obviously have the gift of gab. That's probably a large reason about why they're there. I think their personalities are a big part of their act. Caster actually I like that he cut a promo here that wasn't really about making jokes. It was about, I'm tired of always hearing all this crap about Brian Pillman Jr. and how great he is. I'm great. I'm a great young wrestler. I'm a great young wrestler that's going to do important things in AEW. But all I keep hearing about is Brian Pillman Jr. I like that. I felt like that probably had a kernel of truth to it. Yep. Brian's promo wasn't really bad, but like you said, it was by the numbers. I do believe that he has it within him to cut great promos, though. I see glimpses of that through the way that he pronounces certain words or the way that he hits certain words. The potential is there with the practice. Mark Henry, as always, doing the kind of mediator role. I would like it if these conversations kind of got more interactive between the two combatants, so that Mark Henry, kind of like a news talk show, so that Mark Henry would actually be in the middle, kind of having to mediate this conversation, rather than it's just like, Brian, what do you have to say? Max, what do you have to say? Let's actually have Mark cut to Mark backstage, and he'll go, I'm sitting here with Max Caster and Brian Pillman, and they're going to be talking a little bit about their feelings going into their match coming up before Rampage, and make it a bit more conversational so that, the wrestlers can kind of engage and interact with each other verbally.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It'll be really cool if Mark has to try and get them back on track because they're starting to argue with one another. That builds more heat. Then
just like
this guy has his turn to talk, and now it's your turn to talk. How about they start arguing and bickering between them? Mark has to be like,
shows,
whoa,
yeah, calm down. News talk shows, boxing broadcasts, they do that stuff as well. They sit the two fighters down and someone's a moderator. We need more of that. If you're going to do these 3-panel interviews backstage, you might as well make them that bit more exciting. Give Mark a bit more something to do as well. Should probably even name the segment after Mark Henry. It should be like, all right, we're going to Mark's, whatever it is. Like,
yeah, I get what you mean.
Mark's Corner.
All right, bro. Main event. What did you think here of Max Caster? It's so funny how in Australia we would say Caster, but in America it's Max Caster. What did you think of this main event of Rampage?
Yeah, so I liked Max Caster's rap. I thought it was fun. You know, he didn't say anything too controversial, but he doesn't need to say anything controversial for it to still be awesome because, you know, just the way that he hits it and the attitude that he, you know, expresses the rap with, that sells it as being like, oh man, this guy's a fucking dick. Like, what a douchebag. Finishes it off with Anthony Bowen cutting him off and saying, you're on thin ice as it is, dog. Like, I love that idea. Like, look, the match itself, I was quite impressed with Max Caster. I like Brian Pillman Jr. a lot, but this was really basic for me. I think that this would have been better served being swapped with the women's match and then the Pac Andrade match in the main event. Because I still think that Brian Pillman's not quite there yet, where he's able to carry these matches and kind of. I felt like the actual match itself, while the in-ring work was perfectly fine, this came off tonally a little bit deflated to me and a little bit flat. So I would give this match a C-.
Yeah, the opening match had the main event feel to it. It should have been the main event. You know, it had, even though it was 7 weeks of shitty build with a shitty story, still people wanted to see these two collide because it was going to be, you know, a big time fucking blow off kind of matchup. But anyway, they're great together, these two. I'm so glad that they didn't break it all up because of the fucking controversial promo a few weeks ago. It's funny how quickly everyone seems to have forgotten about it and isn't outraged about it anymore. Yeah. It's like outrage doesn't seem to last very long these days.
There was no reason to be upset about it in the first place. You know, I'm
exactly,
sorry to
bro.
cut you off, but yeah, I know it gets me angry, man. Like it's like I said when we were actually watching this. I know you wanted to touch on this a little bit before. 3 weeks ago, this young man here was at risk of losing his job, losing his dream, because essentially he performed in character and said things that his character would think and say.
Yep.
And all of the supposed controversy and the heat and the negativity, the negative press from that, instead of being delivered at the company as a whole, you know, the way that it would be delivered at WWE and Vince McMahon if something like this happened on Raw, it was instead leveled at the young man that actually said it. And, you know, you've got a case of a young man that's living his dream that could have lost everything because a bunch of pussy fans decided that something was arbitrarily like too offensive, but it was totally okay to reference like Melanie Pillman and Dark Side of the Ring, like in Max Caster's rap several weeks ago, and it was totally fine for MJF to tear the Pillman family to shreds verbally, which I agree that it is. But in the eyes of some of these fans, it's a double standard and hypocrisy, excuse me. It's okay to make fun of everything under the sun, but it's not cool to make a joke about fucking Simone Biles or the lacrosse team rape story. Those things happen. They are a part of history. They are not off limits just because some arbitrary, overly sensitive segments of the smart mark hardcore audience want everything to be a huggable rainbow and a safe space. Yeah. You know, that does not mean that it's off limits and that it's inappropriate to talk about on TV as long as it's in context. It was in context. It was a fictional character speaking fictional thoughts in the context of trying to perform on this show and trying to make the crowd piss him off. You had people that were basically calling for, you know, his career to be ended. You had people that were saying that it was over the line. You had the owner of this company, son of billionaire Shahid Khan, one of the most influential business people on the planet right now. And instead of owning up to the controversy and saying, gee, we'll try to use better judgment in the company as a company in the future. He goes ahead and says, oh, I'm very busy with all my other duties. I don't oversee the editing of Rampage. I don't even personally check Max Caster's raps before he goes out there and does them. I'm disappointed in Max, that he
put the heat on him. That's so fucking disgusting. Fucking disgusting.
You threw your own motherfucking talent under the bus. A 28, 29-year-old man that's probably worked for the last fucking 10, 12 years of his life to get to this point and get this opportunity. Not that it seems to be a very rare opportunity, because judging by some of the signings like Fuego del Sol, it seems they're just happy to sign anyone. But back on topic, you got to stand behind your talents. It's one thing like in 2012 when Abraham Washington was doing that gimmick as the manager of the primetime players, and he used to wear that headset, and then he'd make up his own stuff. And in the middle of a match, he said, Titus O'Neil is like Kobe Bryant in a hotel room in Colorado, unstoppable. He got fired for that. That was his responsibility, because that did imply that he thought that rape was like, okay, like he thought that was an appropriate analogy.
Yeah,
and
that was horrible. Yeah,
and on a PG show, so that was a very bad lack of judgment. Even if you're somebody that thinks that nothing like I do think that in a comedy club nothing should be off limits. So that was an example of like, okay, the talent messed up. They had to send a message and get rid of him in that case. I'm always a little bit disappointed that they never tried to bring him back or something, because I do think he had something to offer. But this situation with Max Caster is completely different. There was 5 days in between the taping and the broadcast that this could have been addressed and edited out, much like the Jim Cornette NWA situation.
Yeah.
And there was, I'm sure 10, 12 hours at the arena where Max Caster and Tony Khan could have gotten together for 5 fucking seconds so that Tony could have skimmed over the lines that he had written down for the rap. And I know I'm going on about it, but it's fine, because it's been a short review for everything else, it's a short episode. So we'll touch on this a bit. This is disgusting. What's the point in having this company that's supposed to allow its talents more creative freedom and more latitude to do their jobs well, if when they try and do it and they take that initiative and they try and do something that actually draws some genuine heat and gets people talking. Like, if I was him, if I'm Max Caster, I'm probably going backstage and expecting everyone to compliment me and tell me that, like, wow, what a great job you did. These raps are getting, edgier than ever. Like, if I'm him, I would have gone backstage being ecstatic and expecting to be praised and, applauded by everybody back there that heard that. The reaction of the company and the fans has been nothing short of disgusting and objectively incorrect. If you personally don't like the remarks that he made, you go ahead and continue booing Max Caster on AEW shows. You don't fucking go on Twitter and call for this kid's head. He may have a family to provide for. He may have a mortgage to pay. We've all got bills. How would you like it if you made a remark accidentally that slipped your tongue in your office, and then that fucking idiot that always competes with you for all promotions in your office goes ahead and starts saying on his social media that he thinks it was inappropriate for you to make that remark in the workplace? And tell me how you would feel. Yes, there's a responsibility to being on TV, but the primary responsibility lies with the people that are writing and booking the show. Max Caster is a minion in the grand scheme of things. Tony Khan's the guy with his finger on the button. Tony Khan is the guy that ultimately answers for what is appropriate and what is not appropriate on this show. All right, finally, I'm done. I hope that sums it up well.
It did, bro. It did. I don't even really need to follow up with anything. I love that, like, halfway through you kind of choked on your own anger. It was fantastic. But it's true, bro. It's true. 5 days it was in the can, no one in the arena, backstage, thought anything of it, and then apparently he has to do 2 months of sensitivity training. That's a lie. I guarantee you he's not going to sensitivity training.
Why the fuck should he go to? There was nothing insensitive about it. It's a TV show.
Exactly.
It's a TV show.
It's not like he actually said it out in public as himself. He was, and
it's
for anyone out
fiction.
there that's like, if you can't like get heel heat without having to bring up these things, do better. Anyone that says the words "do better," stick that one right where the sun don't shine. Okay,
Yeah, and
I don't
stick
fucking
this other
care for
one
that
in-
bullshit.
Yeah, stick that one where the sun don't shine. Stick this one in your fucking eye. Let performers be creative.
Yeah, stop being such pussies about everything. Okay, bro. I'm gonna get back to the rest of this main event, but yes, today we've let rip, bro, and we need to do this stuff because Rampage is such a short show. We need to talk about these things. Brian Cage, Andrade, how bad some of the shit decisions were on this show. We're not hate watching this. We liked the match of that pack.
I enjoyed a lot of what I saw.
Yeah, I like this matchup between Max and Pillman Jr. I like seeing Britt Baker on the show. I like JR, Tony, and Taz together. I like the Adam
with Mark
Cole,
Henry.
Brian
Mark Henry was there as well.
with Mark Henry, who did a fantastic job as well. So we like things on the show. Tully did a great job. Sting did a great job. But these other things, these underlying things really just fuck with the AEW experience as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I think that they should have a little video package on all the times Max has ripped into the Varsity Blondes. Picking on Julia, picking on Brian, picking on Griff. You know, he's done it several times. We need to keep everyone up to speed on some of the things that have taken place, which have led us to this matchup taking place. I wrote down Max should win. I know he probably shouldn't have, because that's fine. Brian Pillman probably needed the win because he's got the big match with MJF at Arthur Ashe. Okay. But it's a foregone conclusion, right? We know Pillman Jr. is getting the win. He does get the win. And this is the bit that I had more of a problem with than anything. I wanted something to happen. Something. I want Bowens attacks, right? And I would have thought Griff Garrison would have made the save, but he doesn't, because obviously, we won't. We'll have Moxley make the save because he's from Cincinnati as well. I hate these feel-good moments, these love-ins, the two Cincinnati guys there. Moxley's never had any pretense of fucking caring about Pillman Jr. Yes, they're from the same town, but fuck, man, enough with the feel-good moments ending the show. It does seem a little
bit contrived. Like,
I want some heat, bro. MJF should have come out and fucking laid him out of the ring. You know, imagine the heat in his hometown. In Pillman's hometown, if MJF came out and fucking clocked him. What a way to go off the show. They were, again, going off the show with a bit of a cliffhanger instead of just going off the show with, yay, the good guy won. Boring. I wrote boring. Hate it, bro. But good match. It's just, I feel like every time something ends, it doesn't end correctly on this show.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Closing my notes. I don't want to look at them again. Okay. DJ, rating out of 10 for Rampage. The 5th episode.
I'm going to give this a 5 because if I weigh up the sum of everything, I think that this was a passable average episode of Rampage. I don't say average in a negative way. I say it just in an average way. So, yeah, 5.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to follow their sentiments and give this a 5 as well. I gave Dynamite a 2. And so this was middle of the road. Some was good, some was bad. You know, I don't know, man. This company's so up and down with the quality of their shows. You know what I mean? Like, All Out was amazing, and then Dynamite was terrible. And then this was middle of the road. It's like, is Dynamite this week going to be amazing or something? What's going on here?
As I said, I saw diehard AEW fans saying that they thought Dynamite was a real letdown and that the show dragged. And so, you know, I do think that we're not the only ones that feel this way about the inconsistency.
Yeah, fuck. Anyway, bro, tell everyone where they can find you.
All right, you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook at Jooseyboy. That's JOOSEYBOY, all one word. And of course, follow along right here at the WZWA Network.
Excellent. Me again on Twitter, Karlifornia WZWA, KARLIFORNIA WZWA. You can find WZWA Network on Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all 5. And maybe, you know what, we might even make a MySpace. You know, let's add that to the fray. So DJ, thank you again for taking the time to cover this show.
No, I always enjoy our reviews. Have a lot of fun doing them. Thank you.
And maybe one of these days we can hang out in person, bro.
Yeah, man. We haven't hung out in person for ages.
All right. Well, thanks, bro. And thank you, everyone out there, for watching our AEW Rampage review. Who knows how many more of these we'll do. Hopefully, things improve as we move along. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
See you down the road. Bye.
See you down the road.